G'day YouTubers and welcome back. And today have I got a banger for you, a slam dunk, a wham bam thank you ma'am. Today we're going to have a quick chat about the new Darren Aronofsky film, Caught Stealing. And when I actually first seen this trailer, I was pretty excited for this movie to come out. And I tell you what, it did not disappoint. So let's get stuck right in to Caught Stealing. Now the main character that starts all following is a fella called Hank, played by Austin Butler, who is an ex-baseball prodigy who back in the day had a little bit of unlucky trouble that happened, and the baseball dream went away. So he ends up finding himself in 1998 in New York City working in a bar. Now the way I look at it, Hank's just a normal dude with a normal life with a pretty awesome chick who is also played by Zoë Kravitz, and he's just trying to get on with his life and be kind of good dude but still chilled out. So next thing you know, he's going to help out his neighbour Russ, who's played by Matt Smith, and look after his cat while Russ has to go back over to England to check on his dad. Now this is where it starts to get a little bit crazy for poor old Hank. Unbeknownst to him, his neighbour Russ is in some pretty heavy business with corrupt cops, Russian mob, and two brothers called the Drucker brothers, who are pretty nasty characters who apparently like to cut people's eyeballs out. Now, he doesn't really know what's happening because all he's apparently meant to do is be looking after a cat, but sort of gets dragged into all this nonsense once people try to get into Russ's house, and he stops it, ends up getting a pretty good beating for it. And because Russ is out of town, everyone that's involved actually thinks that poor old Hank is actually involved in the group and knows about whatever this thing is that they're after, because not even Hank knows what this thing is that they're after, and they keep nailing him for it, chasing him down, beating him, shooting at him. He's not really having a good time. He's pretty much been drugged into the 90s underworld of New York City. And yeah, he's not really having a good time. And then also, one of the funniest features of this movie is not only just Austin Butler being the main character, but also this cat. This cat has a lot involved to do with this movie, and apparently he was one of the best actors to work with. That's what the director said anyway. He would rather work with a cat than certain actors again. But back into this movie, poor old Hank, he's really copping it. Don't really want to give too much away, but yeah, he's really not having the best time. He tries to go along with most of the plans to get whatever this thing is back to try and, get out of the troubles that he's in, because the people are really heavy and starting to hurt a lot of people that are around him. And I tell you what, you've got to watch this movie for the twists and turns that happen in this. I really think Darren Aronofsky did a really good job with this movie. It really gives across like an old school sort of Guy Ritchie feel, which I really loved. I love Snatch and Lock, Stock. They were really good movies back in the day. And this movie sort of fits in well with that, like it could be. Like the cinematography that they did on it actually really makes you feel like you're back in the 90s. Not just, oh, I'm watching a movie in the 90s. No, like they actually went into a lot of detail to make you think that you're actually back in 1998. And that was really cool to see. And you got to give props to the cast, like they worked exceptionally well together, even though it was pretty much the Austin Butler show. But one I would like to quickly say is I actually really liked Russ's character, who was played by Matt Smith, which you would have seen him in movies like Morbius, and as well I'm pretty sure in the House of Dragons or Games of Thrones. Not really too sure, as I haven't dived into that yet. But I feel that Russ's character, being an English proper punk, it was actually quite hilarious how he portrayed him. Like I actually really thought from the trailer that he was going to be, hard and, he could take a good beating or, be a bit more street than actually what he turned out to be. And it was quite hilarious how Matt Smith portrayed that. And I would really like to see more of him in the actual movie, but I know with how the story goes, because I've seen the movie, that wouldn't actually work out. But it would really be cool to see more of Matt Smith in this movie. Right, and quickly, I'd just like to share a couple of scenes that I really enjoyed out of this movie. Might be a couple of spoilers ahead, so just be careful. I think one of the funniest ones I've seen was finally when Russ actually comes back from England, and Hank's sort of had enough. He's been beaten up a couple of times, threatened a lot, possibly even his girlfriend, poor old Zoë Kravitz, got taken out, but he's a bit afraid, waiting in his apartment, a knock at his door. Next thing you know, he opens the door, he doesn't know it's Russ there, he swings a baseball bat and cleans Russ clean up in the head. Russ goes down and starts abusing him in all sorts of colourful language, and I thought that was quite hilarious because, yeah, I've got a couple of English friends and the way they swear is not too far off Australians, but pretty hilarious if I might add that. And the other two people that really had me interested in this movie and it was quite a surprise to see it, was the people who played the characters of the Drucker brothers, who seemed to be really Jewish hitmen, and they were actually really good at it. And apparently in the movie everyone's really scared of them because they actually cut people's eyes out. And the people that actually played those characters is Vincent D'Onofrio and Liev Schreiber. And I tell you what, they played those characters to the T. They worked together like they were actual brothers, and it was quite hilarious in most scenes. They were pretty much all comedy with a little bit of action, and it was really cool how they melded together and just become a team. Like, you actually thought they were brothers. And there was two main scenes that I really liked them in. One of them was eventually after the brothers catch Hank, and they wanted him to lead him to the thing that they're all after. And they actually, because they're, you know, proper Jewish, they actually have to go and do a religious thing with their mum. So they actually take Hank to their home and they have lunch at home with Hank. And it's funny enough that their mum actually likes Hank and gives him lunch, and they all eat lunch together. And I thought that was quite hilarious how two hitmen bring a dude that, you know, they're trying to get something off to their mum's home, have a feed with him, sort of have a good chat with him, and then they leave. I thought that was actually quite hilarious. And then I think the second scene was one of the best scenes that I've seen them in. And it's one of the final scenes when they actually go into a Russian bar and pretty much clean it all out. And that's one of the real scenes that made it feel like Guy Ritchie, when you just got two dudes walking over, getting guns. They even had a couple of grenades, I'm pretty sure, which was pretty interesting to see. You don't really get to see much of the killing, which is another, I don't know, it's a really cool feature, but it makes you, you know, a little bit intrigued about what happened. But no, they go in there, sort of level the place out. Even some grenades go off, and next thing you know, they come out running, and they run in the opposite direction to where Hank is. And I'm pretty sure at that stage, Hank was actually tied to a steering wheel, so he couldn't move. So yeah, I thought that was pretty hilarious, and especially surprising that the Drucker brothers were both those two characters, and very hilarious to see how they worked out. Alrighty everyone, we've actually come to the end now. And I'd just like to add a little thing. I'd like to ask you guys at home, have you actually watched Caught Stealing, and what was your favourite scene out of Caught Stealing? Drop it down in the comments below and we'll have a chat about it. And as usual, I'd just like to thank all my subs for liking and watching my videos. I love yous all. And anyone that's new that's watching has made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe, and maybe jump over to my channel, check out some of my other videos. You might just like them. And as usual everyone, I will catch you guys on the next one.